So it's pretty much a well-established point at this point in America's life cycle that the government really isn't going to be on our side here. And what I mean by our side, quote unquote, is just the people's side, the everyday, hardworking, tax-paying citizen. Now, that person in the eyes of the government has been completely cast to the side. And honestly, it's a surprise at this point if you're able to find any type of politician who isn't bought out or, sold to some foreign government or an ideological group. Now, we basically became the United States of Israel, which is a point you've probably heard get repeated a lot at this point. With, of course, most of our politicians, they're getting paid off by AIPAC or some type of shell corporation that is, of course, rooted by AIPAC or Israeli forces there. And of course, our ever-dying support of Israel is going to be for some type of reason. And it's not really going to take a genius to realize who actually kind of occupies our government positions there. And there is so much money getting paid out to our politicians so we could keep pouring into this small country that is constantly expanding through pure conquest and imperialism. And they want us kind of in their war. They're literally growing their country by stepping on the backs of the countries around them. And the thing is, with every citizen, they do know this. And if you've been looking at polls for America, most people think that Netanyahu should even be arrested at this point, but that's a story for another day, talking about Israel as a whole. But I'm just kind of saying that they desperately, our own government wanted us in their war so they could keep expanding the, Israeli empire. And, the government, the media, they don't really try to hide it. They just shove it down our throats of our, ever-dying support, even though if you go out on the street, every single person that you talk to, they're going to say that Israel is a regime that is actively hurting the world's progress. But, you go to Fox News, you go to CNN, whatever it may be, you're going to be seeing clearly that, hey, we all love them, and nothing to see here, It's kind of just exhibit A, of our media being fully controlled at this point, and it's very blatant, and everybody does know that, which is why people went to kind of a third-party system. But to build onto that, even our third-party systems are compromised at this point. Even our uncontrolled media of once was TikTok. The cycle of TikTok is also a little bit depressing as well. They kind of gaslit the American public into believing that China was on some fishy shit on TikTok so they could sell it to their leaders so they could do some fishy shit on TikTok. And kind of propagandize our American public here. And there has been people even being arrested over just speaking out, which is kind of breaking our First Amendment right, which no one seems to be speaking about. When you talk about Israel, I've seen news articles of people going to jail. And we have also seen this recently. We merged our military with the IDF. If it hasn't been done yet, they're trying to. They're trying everything they can. And this is going to be a huge catastrophe. This is something able to get pulled off. Now, for many years, we literally, every story you hear from anybody in American intelligence is we had to ban Israelis out of our government buildings because they kept trying to steal our intelligence. And that's what we've been hearing for many, many years. And then all of a sudden, we're all just one combined thing. I don't know. When I think of America, it seems a lot more like a hostile takeover has kind of happened with our government in particular. And I think it kind of signified the beginning of the end when all this kind of started to begin, just of how truly we are when it comes to just being cooked. And that actually brings me to Palantir, Peter Thiel, this guy, running away over to Argentina. This guy has set up a surveillance state onto us. And that's kind of this whole guy's bread and butter, just collecting data and collecting it to the point of, using it in the future and analyzing behaviors and movements of how people react. And they were actually bragging about how much information they were able to pick up from the Gaza Strip bombings on how civilians reacted to situations when they were getting bombed. Hey, these people, they're going to call family, they're going to run to the hospitals, they're going to get kicked out of the hospitals, they're going to run after they get kicked out. That type of level of intelligence and level of data that they're collecting. And they were actively bragging about it when it came to what they were doing to Gaza for Palantir. Now, Palantir is rooted by Israeli kind of Jewish as well. I hate saying it like that because it seems anti-Semitic, but at the end of the day, that's who is the one in control there with all of those stuff. And with a little bit of Jew in myself, I feel like I am a pretty good person when it comes to just explaining it without someone slapping the anti-Semite label on me. But that's why it's kind of bullshit when they tell you that they don't know about like kids in a hospital when they bomb it, because like they'll do it initially for like the kids. They'll be like, oh man, I don't know what happened, and then based off the data, they know that a little bit later they have first responders come, and then they know that, so they choose to bomb them at that time. And then after that, they know the press starts pulling up after that from what the data has shown. So get the press as well, so they're not getting coverage on what's actually going on here. It's kind of like a machine that was kind of feeding itself on that side of the world. Now, they were able to like form strategies of like the little grossest measures from that data collected, of just like, for example, like I said, hey, I know these people are going to be first responders to this hospital. We're going to wait until they respond after the 15 minutes and then bomb it then. Like, they're using these gross strategies based off of the data that they collected. And there's a point of pride to that, in knowing that type of data, to these data collection companies. And they want you to think all of these data setters that they've had are for like AI. And yes, of course, a lot of them are going to be for AI, but a vast majority of it is just going to be storing our, collected data. Where you're driving to every 4 o'clock on a Thursday, down to the little details of like what time is you're able to brush your teeth. And, with these Wi-Fi signals, able to, triangulate our location based off our internal thermal like sources, like they'll be able to do this very, very efficiently, down to the minute, down to the detail at a certain point once they tie everything on in together. And of course, it's like very easy nowadays to like turn your head in like 2026, because like a lot of the stuff that's been happening has been happening overseas. But if you're looking at America like a chessboard, they've been kind of setting the stage to perform kind of what they did over there on our home turf, but not on like a crazy, like we're gonna massacre everyone, although I wouldn't be surprised, but on a way of like total control, total surveillance state, like the state of Israel is at the moment. Now, even without all of the stuff they've been already collecting data off of us, for many, many years, and they already know a lot of weaknesses when it comes to your everyday person. They know how to react. That's another thing that's very scary. And with propaganda as well, you got to keep your eyes open, because they know how we react to information. And based off of that, they know how they need to react to our reactions to get away through it and kind of like squiggle their way past. And with my earlier stated point with our merger with the IDF, I think that's a strategic decision that was purposefully made by the United States government more than everything. Now, our government knows at this point, like without a shadow of a doubt, that, we're not riding for them. We're not riding for Israel. But, they need troops. At the end of the day, they need people to die for them, which is why you've been seeing in recent memory here a lot of those draft simulations. But they know the public outcourse of Israel. They know what it is. Like, they know what people's opinions are. Like, they know that people will just start fragging their COs and such. Like, they know that nobody really wants to fight for them. And they also know that the U.S. military, if they were forced to enforce a draft, they're probably going to backdoor our government and, join the side of the people. But who would, very happily enforce a draft, breaking rules, doing all that type of stuff, also with zero repercussion? The IDF. It'd be them. They'd be able to do it. Now, I really don't see this happening. Like, it's kind of just like a stretch tinfoil hat moment, but I wouldn't be shocked to see, just based off like the chessboard that they've been setting up here. Like, if you go throughout your neighborhood, you see like your neighbors getting raided by just IDF going door to door, bringing people to the front lines, forcing them there, the way that they were doing, forcing people in Ukraine, but on our home turf this time. Now, you might want to be able to escape, is the thing, and unfortunately, you don't have the ability to. You're kind of just trapped in this surveillance state, because it is already in effect. It already has happened. All of our government positions, they've been completely hostile takeover to vote whatever they want them to vote on and flock Now, flock had been originally stated to track people of dangerous origin, managing high-risk individuals and just getting a read on people like that. But if you're completely honest, most of these people are already being tracked on offender registries. The system already got them like in their class. So it's, when you think about it, it really is more about surveillance on the regular everyday person. Now, people have already been in trouble for abusing the flock systems. For example, like people have been stalking their ex-girlfriends, and even just watching children when they shouldn't be watching children. But when it comes to where, like, the time comes where everybody decides, hey, we're not going to the draft, we're not getting drafted, I can see it now. We got IDF people on our home turf because, they're green lit, just hunting down our people. And then the people that don't want to go, the flock system will act as very good surveillance in fighting said people, which could be the reason why they have, most of them in like the most odd places sometimes. But also, they also just want to watch people. That's also a very good reason. But at the same time, why is there like a flock camera on a walking trail in the forest? But it's kind of my estimation that after they have merged the militaries with the IDF, they will at least try to use the IDF's forces on any type of military draft when it comes to enforcing it. And if you're the one running away, fleeing, or even part of the rebellion group, they're going to use the flock systems to find out. And then at that point, it's going to be very easy for the government to, label you as treasonous, as a traitor, or, you're going against the system, basically. And that's kind of a scary thought to have, because this turns your regular, everyday, just smart human being into a criminal just for being a smart, thinking human being. Now, not one citizen wants this reality. And this is where reality has been thrust upon us. Like, this is something that's been forced on us. And even speaking, like, the truth, like, you're going to get labeled a traitor, a terrorist, or even be jailed. I mean, everybody, of course, like, they need to vote these people out, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really seem like a vote system with that type of stuff is in effect at the moment. It kind of seems a little bit rigged in my position of where I'm kind of sitting. They have all their people they need in power. Now it's just they need to keep all their people in the same spot of power. So it's kind of rigged to kind of do that in their favor. Now, unfortunately, I think the only way like things change is if people like dead ass like do an American Revolution 2.0, pitchfork torches, and then actively, taking each person in a position of power out of their position and, putting good representatives in as a replacement. And these people know that, which is why, of course, you've been seeing them buying these private islands, putting bunkers on them and all that type of stuff to kind of escape the consequence of the actions that have been popping up over the past decades. Now, at the end of the day, I don't think this is a system-rooted issue. Like, we have built up a good system. This isn't like the bad systems. We got to really start from the ground floor up. Like, I think that's an actual terrible way of looking at it. Now, the reason why, like, our founding fathers made it the way they did was, like, for a very specific reason. It checks and balances and all that type of stuff. They're just not being properly executed at the moment because the people supposed to do that are not enforcing it. So you just got to have the right people to enforce it with the intention of, hey, I'm going to do my job right. Because at the moment we are seeing in real time, performance of taxation without any representation. And we did see how that was treated of the redcoats, how they, resulted after that. And if people kind of did the same thing nowadays, you would be cast away and thrown to the side and labeled a villain. But at the end of the day, this is kind of what is needed, at least in America's eyes. Now, I think, in my opinion, the America we live in is not the United States of America anymore. And it's just a different nation over the past few decades, just masquerading, acting like it is America. And as citizens, it's going to be our job to dismantle the current leadership and put America back in its place to where it's supposed to be. Now, leading up to after World War II, at the latest Vietnam, I think the old America ceased to exist past that point. And it just became a different country that was ruled by, the same people with the interests of companies, with the interests of, not the right people with certain foreign governments as well. Like that America that we knew, that we loved, that died years ago. And unless we actively do something each and individually to resurrect our old America, it's going to be a remnant of the past forever and will fade away into history like the Egyptians, like the Aztecs. Yeah, but seriously though, guys, like, be sure you're not like deflating any of these flock cameras in the area. I know there's like a lot of good copper and RAM inside of it, but like you definitely should not do it. Definitely like do not like get rid of these flock cameras. And also be sure, like, another thing, like, you are in a position of power, at least, or so they try to seem with their voters' abilities. Vote out your representatives of your state. They obviously are not representing you well. So if you do that, everybody collectively does that, and it still goes wrong, it will actively show that there is a rigging to the system. And if it doesn't, we get the right people into power. But in the case that there's an active rigging in the system, like, I'm sure, there's somebody out there with like addresses of people there. There's people that'll go to the extremes with this type of stuff. But I don't think it would have to come to that. I think just people have to, like, hey, step off the seat. Real talk. We don't want to have to pull a Roman Empire, but unfortunately, we're kind of sitting at that point with the Julius Caesar and the Brutus and all that type of stuff there. But definitely a crazy video I'm putting out here today. Definitely red flag worthy by not only the YouTube algorithm, but to my FBI agent there. I see you listening there. Hopefully you enjoyed that video, Mr. Agent. But I do feel very strongly on this, which is why I wanted to get this point on out. But if you did like the points and agreed on any of the points, be sure you like it, subscribe, and also be sure you comment on your opinion on if America is still the same or if it died many years ago. And, we got to take back what's ours, basically, to resurrect it. Let me know down in the comments below. But outside of that, this is going to be your Uncle Lester. Peace and out.